Hello and welcome to a special edition of Battle Cry. I'm Gaurav Sawant. The world is watching Afghanistan in horror. Taliban are back and they've carried out a military victory parade. But this parade has the world alarmed. Taliban's terror parade is our top focus on Battle Cry. World over, armed forces showcase their military might in impressive parades. Taliban television carried a video that horrified the world. Taliban showcased suicide bombers or martyrdom seekers, as they call them, as part of this victory parade. And as the world watched in horror, suicide bombers were followed by a vehicle that showed suicide vests on this parade. And then a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device that Taliban have used to deadly effect across Afghanistan. Taliban parades its suicide bombers. Taliban showcases car bombs. Taliban puts on display suicide vests. Taliban displays anti-aircraft guns and rockets. This is Taliban's victory parade in Afghanistan. As Taliban commanders prepare to form the next government in Kabul, military commanders held a victory parade showcasing weapons used to wage a 2-decade-long war on the United States of America and the democratic government of Afghanistan. Listen to the commentary on Taliban's suicide bombers, or in Taliban's language, the martyrdom seekers, carrying the flag of the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. Next up are weapons from a Dragunov sniper rifle to American M4s to anti-aircraft guns and rocket-propelled grenades. Taliban's show of strength in this victory parade at an undisclosed location in this undated video displays suicide vests worn by bombers. And of course, the showstopper at Taliban's victory parade is this car bomb. The roadside bombs, the car bombs, or the VB IEDs, vehicle-borne improvised explosive devices that have been used by Taliban commanders with deadly precision, including by Mullah Hebatullah Akhundzada's son, Abdur Rahman, or Hafiz Khalid, against Afghan soldiers in 2017. Taliban claims Akhundzada is in Kandahar. Listen in to Taliban commanders talk about the road ahead.
We want the war to end and no war to be fought anywhere unless we are forced to do, and the ways of negotiation and communication are not blocked. We prefer that issues be resolved through dialogues.
But this is the ground reality. India has once again reiterated its stance on Afghanistan.
One of the primary immediate concerns is that Afghan soil should not be used for anti-Indian activities or terrorism against India.
But with these images being shown on Afghanistan's state television, the writing is on the wall. With Anil Kumar, Bureau Report, India Today. Taliban got a windfall as they reached Kabul on the 15th of August. They've got thousands of US-made assault rifles, night vision devices, armored fighting vehicles, and much more military hardware. Taliban fighters carried out another victory parade, and this time on the Kandahar highway, showcasing the US armored fighting vehicles and other military hardware now operating under the Taliban flag. Taliban's victory parade in Kandahar, South Afghanistan. Kandahar has been Taliban's earlier headquarters, and this is where the Taliban are parading American weapons and platforms now in their control. These are American armored fighting vehicles used by US and Afghan troops in Afghanistan. But now, these vehicles move under the Taliban flag with hundreds of Taliban fighters dressed in US pattern camouflage fatigues, waving American M4 rifles. And as dozens of armored fighting vehicles and Humvees roar down the Kandahar highway, a US Black Hawk helicopter flies overhead, once again displaying the Taliban flag. The signals are very clear. Taliban controls the ground and the skies above in Afghanistan. Taliban spokesperson Mullah Zabiullah Mujahid has said so in as many words, celebrating their victory over the United States after 20 years of being on the run.
There was no need for war. Unfortunately, the US officials used arrogance at the time. They did not consider the outcome of their work, and the result was that now they were defeated.
The weapons on display include, apart from the Humvees and the armored fighting vehicles and the Black Hawk helicopter, an assortment of small arms, including M4A1 rifles, its magazines, pistols, and other sidearms and body armor. The Taliban are already dressed in US pattern camouflage fatigues.
The Taliban now has access to over $85 billion worth of American military equipment. That includes 75,000 vehicles, over 200 airplanes and helicopters, over 600,000 small arms and light weapons.
The US has, however, claimed they demilitarized all aircraft, helicopters and armored vehicles in Kabul. The US are learned to have taken out key components and damaged some crucial equipment to ensure that neither the aircraft nor the helicopters remain airworthy. But the victory parade showcasing US weapons, Taliban are clearly having the last laugh. Bureau Report, India Today. When Taliban come, can Al-Qaeda be far behind? Soon after Taliban takeover of Kandahar initially and then Kabul, Al-Qaeda commanders in hiding have slowly started resurfacing. And most worrying was the return of Aminul Haq, the security in charge of once the world's most wanted terrorist Osama bin Laden in the Tora Bora mountains. Now Aminul Haq returned to a rousing reception at Kandahar. He incidentally is from Nangarhar originally. The Al-Qaeda soon issued a statement talking about liberating even Kashmir. If the nightmare of history repeating itself had an image, you are looking at it. The man on your television screen is Aminul Haq, a top Al-Qaeda leader, a close aide of Osama bin Laden. Seen here being welcomed back to his native Nangarhar province after it fell to the Taliban. If the lightning return of the Taliban wasn't a big enough confirmation of America's 2 decades failure, this phase should exponentially haunt Washington DC and the rest of the world. Especially at a time when the US president has declared for the second time in weeks that Al-Qaeda has been destroyed.
We delivered justice to bin Laden on May 2nd, 2011, over a decade ago. Al-Qaeda was decimated.
In a second sharp irony, Aminul Haq, who was Osama bin Laden's security chief in Afghanistan's Tora Bora mountains, emerges from the shadows right before the 20th anniversary of 9/11. It was this man who's understood to have helped the Al-Qaeda founder escape US forces in 2002 by moving him out of Tora Bora in eastern Afghanistan to Waziristan in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. The Tora Bora cave complex, high up in the mountains, was where the senior Al-Qaeda leadership was holed up at the time. His role in helping the world's most wanted terrorist Osama bin Laden escape was described in former Pakistan President General Pervez Musharraf's memoir In the Line of Fire, based on information from Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the third highest ranking member of the Al-Qaeda. By stepping out and welcoming the Taliban, the Al-Qaeda has signaled something that the US Central Intelligence Agency will take weeks to digest. For starters, claims that Al-Qaeda had been wiped out are now directly questionable. Even if one were to take American declaration that the Al-Qaeda had been weakened beyond repair, the fact that Osama's top aide is now in the warm embrace of the friendly Taliban means they can recuperate. The enormous weapon harvest left by the United States also means that Al-Qaeda can quickly rearm itself easily. But the development isn't just a wake-up call for the United States, but directly for India as well. The Al-Qaeda has sent up a declaration for war for an Islamic caliphate that includes Kashmir. A detailed statement issued by Al-Qaeda after Taliban's takeover is a call to arms to liberate so-called Islamic land from the clutches of the enemies of Islam. O Allah, liberate the Levant, Somalia, Yemen, Kashmir. Could the face of Aminul Haq signal the rebirth of once most feared terrorist organization? And has the new world given them even more potency and lethal potential? Bureau Report, India Today. The Taliban 2.0 may be talking peace and taking all ethnic minorities along, but the Taliban have launched a fierce attack on Panjshir to take down the National Resistance Front led by young Ahmad Massoud and the brave caretaker president of Afghanistan, Amrullah Saleh. India Today is the only channel to get you ground reports from the road that leads to Panjshir, where fierce fighting is taking place with both sides now using both mortars and artillery.
Battleground Panjshir. Intense firing between Taliban fighters and resistance. Taliban blocks all roads leading to Panjshir. Tanks, armored fighting vehicles, and heavily armed Taliban fighters.
Fighting between the Taliban and the resistance force led by Ahmad Massoud on the Gulbahar area. The entrance to Panjshir, Afghanistan. Taliban has also blown up a bridge connecting the Gulbahar road with Panjshir in the Kalash.
This is Gulbahar, the entry point to Panjshir. Taliban have blown up an important bridge encircling Panjshir, choking the supply routes.
We will fight anyone who opposes the Islamic Emirate system.
The resistance fighters are undeterred. They have been brought up on tales of valor of the legendary Tajik commander Ahmad Shah Massoud and his resistance of both the Taliban and the Soviets. The young generation too wants to live up to the legends.
The war has started in Panjshir and the Taliban are being defeated. And we will fight till the last drop of blood in our body.
And the fighting in the past several days has been intense. There are reports of casualties on both sides. The resistance claims they have neutralized over 350 Taliban fighters, beating back multiple attacks.
Lots of casualties from Taliban side, around 15 wounded and a few have been captured.
Taliban deny having suffered fatalities, but locals say they have been used by Taliban to go to the front lines as human shield and also to retrieve bodies of fighters killed.
Taliban are forcing people out of their homes and are taking them to the war front.
The resistance commanders have also confirmed that the Taliban is using locals around Panjshir as human shields to retrieve bodies, but claim they have held fire to ensure locals do not lose their lives.
That they have entered the Shotul district of Panjshir province. This is absolutely lie. They have approached Shotul last night, but they have been pushed back and they have suffered lots of casualties. At least 40 of their dead were in the battlefield.
The Taliban have sought reinforcements to take on the resistance fighters at Panjshir, and the siege is expected to go on much longer.
Taliban have suffered heavy losses, but the area is under siege and transportation routes are all closed.
The fear is writ large on faces of people.
The ongoing war has affected the local population in Gulbahar at the entry point of Panjshir. They live in fear amidst warning food supplies.
Gulbahar market is running out of supplies and the streets are deserted.
Taliban attacks intense. People in Panjshir will face shortage of food and medicines. Roads should be reopened.
Food prices have doubled due to the conflict and people fear the worst is yet to come.
India Today and Ashdaq, the only channels on ground to report from battlefield Panjshir. The Taliban launched an attack at 11 p.m. on Tuesday night. You can hear the gunshot in the background. The office of style ongoing casualties expect both sides. But will Ahmad Massoud and Amrullah Saleh be able to resist Taliban's all-out attack? We will report every detail from battlefield Panjshir. Ahmad Naveed Kavish reporting from Gulbahar, Panjshir.
Taliban windfall also included air power, from C-130 Hercules aircraft to Black Hawk helicopters. As Major General Chris Donahue became the last US soldier to withdraw from Afghanistan after 20 years of US deployment, the United States destroyed or demilitarized a large number of these fighter aircraft, transport aircraft and helicopters, claiming they were no longer airworthy. And yet, a Taliban Black Hawk was seen flying over the skies of Kandahar with the Taliban flag. We get you a ground report.
افغانستان کې نام اشغال نشي او افغانستان آباد آزاد اوسېږي افغانان کور اوسېږي او دلته اسلامي سپېڅلی نظام.
Attack aircraft, intelligence planes, helicopters of every kind. US supplied aircraft at the Kabul airport abandoned as the Americans departed. The world watched in horror as the enormous hardware loot for the Taliban became clear. The Americans, in their final scramble to leave Kabul, managed to demilitarize and disable many of these aircraft, removing crucial systems or even entire cockpits, rendering them useless, at least for now. The Taliban, even with powerful friends like the Chinese, will find it difficult to get these aircraft back in the air. But that isn't strictly impossible. What's important to note is the United States managed to disable aircraft at Kabul. There are several abandoned aircraft at other bases, most notably Kandahar. In a video that has gone viral recently for confirming that the Taliban has been able to get the aircraft into the air is this Black Hawk seen flying the Taliban flag in Kandahar. The helicopter was flown by an Afghan army pilot who has decided to join forces with the Taliban. Recruiting existing pilots from the government was part of Taliban's policy to kickstart the military machinery that fell in its hands within days. Countries like Pakistan and China, both with large conventional militaries, will perhaps provide training and know-how on utilizing the inherited aircraft and weaponry to the fullest. Whether such machines are used to assist terrorists is a question haunting the world. For now, with a large country to rule over, the Taliban has demonstrated that it won't be moving far from its terrorist roots and DNA. And now, with a large conventional military machine under its charge, it remains to be seen how the Taliban wields it. Bureau Report, India Today. As women and ethnic groups fight for rights in Afghanistan, the world has put Taliban on notice. Will the Taliban fulfill promises made to the world in the Doha Agreement, or will Afghanistan once again return to the dark ages? We shall track that story very closely, but this is all I have time for on this special broadcast of Battle Cry. Many thanks for watching. For all the latest news and updates, keep watching India Today.